Our guest today has been called the superstar of patents. Erich Spangenberg, the CEO of IPwe, has been involved in some of the most famous patent cases and is now using his patent expertise in the blockchain world, including a very exciting partnership which Templum will talk about in just a few minutes.
Tell me how the patent process works here in the U.S. versus other foreign jurisdictions.
Yeah, so they're not dissimilar around the world, but you'd come up with the idea, file what's called a patent application that would stay in the patent office for 2 or 3 years, and ultimately after a long drawn-out exchange with the government, if you were lucky enough, you'd be granted a patent.
Okay. And typically, what's that time horizon? Are you seeing any changes?
20 years from the time you filed.
Has that been your experience?
No, to get the patent is a couple of 2-3 years, but
yes.
The life of the patent is 20 years from the time you file.
Great. Erich, I'd love to talk about the state of patent financing and how that's working, because obviously, as our collaboration is Templum and IPwe, I think we have big plans to influence that.
Yeah, so look, we think today that the patent finance market is about a $4 billion market. It's primarily dominated by just a handful of players on the capital side, and they're primarily loan-to-own operations. So it's not used as a traditional finance collateral. On the other side, you have asset-based lenders, large banks primarily, who take patents as part of a collateral package, but it's simply a check-the-box exercise. They're not ascribing any separate value to the patents. That's what we want to change.
And I think as we look at Templum and some of the asset classes that we move or trying to move to a liquid pathway to open up to other investors, how do you think that can change in working with intellectual property portfolios alongside with Templum?
Look, I think we can make a big difference. We're going to unlock value that hasn't previously been unlocked. So if you look at a typical company's balance sheet, Fortune 500, somewhere around 70% of it is intangibles. Wow. A big piece of that is going to be patents. And for most companies, not all companies, but for most companies, they simply sit there. The CFO doesn't necessarily even understand what they are. They're relegated to a different asset manager, typically legal. We're going to change that.